Hey, welcome back to Nader's Nemesis 2.0. I wanted to take some time and provide a video of the latest things I've been working on. I've been pretty busy this past 30 days, and there's been quite a bit of progress. So I'll have a lot to show you on this video. So let me go ahead and get started and show you the various things I've been working on. First thing I wanted to show you is the progress I've made on the chassis. As you can see, it has a lot more components on it than it did last time I chatted with you. I now have both the front and the rear suspension assemblies connected by the frame rails. I decided to build out a frame rail system that provides this area for the engine and transmission space right behind the seats with a cross member there. And then I created a boxed style frame that goes out and up to the front. I did that with 2x3 inch channel, or actually 2x3 inch tubing. In the center, I also added some more structural strength and also created the space for where the console is going to be, and also the passageway for all the different components that need to go from the back to the front of the car, such as cooling lines, heater hoses, air conditioning hoses, wiring, shifter cables, all kinds of different things will be passing its way through that center section right there. And then another cross member across the front that ties into the frame rails that go to the front suspension adapters that hold the suspension to the frame. So you can see that's all been welded in. I haven't welded the bottom of these joints yet. Once I get it all together, I'll unbolt it, turn it over, and I'll put some welds on the bottom sides of these joints. But the jig worked pretty well, and I've got everything fastened in. I've got some more gusseting to do, and I'll do that once I get the engine transmission in to see what things I can do to strengthen things back here, as well as putting some strengthening up here where it attaches in. But it turned out pretty well. I'm sure there will be some things I'll need to adjust as I get further along, but I like how it turned out. As you can see, I also got the seat brackets fastened in. I used 2x2 tubing to do that, and have the seats bolted to that. The leg room is ample. I like how that turned out. I like the seats. They're pretty comfortable. They're Corbeau seats, and I think I pronounced that right. But they're very comfortable, and the bracketry holding them on and allowing for adjustments was very nice. I also spent quite a bit of time working on getting the clutch, brake, and accelerator pedal mounts put in. As you can see, I cut into the frame just a little bit to lower the pedals. I wanted to keep everything low to the ground and keep plenty of clearance and leg room in the car. But that turned out, I decided to go with a dual master cylinder brake system, allow me to adjust bias between front and back. And then, of course, there's a hydraulic clutch master cylinder in this. The accelerator pedal is the drive-by-wire style accelerator pedal that needs to go with the LS7 that I'm putting in. So pretty simple install for that. I just needed to make some bracketry to get the pedal position in the right spot. But with that put in there, pretty comfortable from what I can tell by sitting in the seat, and I think that's going to work out well for this passenger compartment. Let's see, anything else? I think that's about it for the frame rails and the framing. I'm going to put the roll bar and the struts for the roll bar on once the frame is mounted in the car. I wanted to have the ability to see how that looks inside the car before I do any tacking or welding of the roll bar in. So I think that's it for the framing that I have right now. There's not much more I'm going to be doing to that until I get the engine and transmission put in. The next thing I wanted to show you was the work I've been doing with the cooling system. I'm decided I'm going to use some AN fittings and hoses to move coolant from the engine to cooling lines that'll be fastened into the console area, and then use AN fittings and hoses to go from those cooling lines to the radiator in the front of the car. I've adapted and welded fittings onto the thermostat housing and also onto the inlet or the outlet side of the water pump, and those fittings then will have hoses attached to them and go down to the cooling lines. I'm also, I think the engine is going to be higher than the radiator in this car, so I'm going to put the fill on this line here before it heads down to the tube in the chassis. And then the venting, the tank will be attached in the engine compartment for overflow and refeed. So that'll be in here. The tubes I've got rigged up. I've got ends mounted onto the tubes, and they will be fastened into the bottom side of the channel in the center of the car, and they'll carry the coolant. I'm also going to leave them exposed to air rushing across the bottom of the car and allow them to do a little bit of cooling. I've welded some fins onto these tubes to get a little bit of cooling effect as air moves across them. I don't know how much that'll do, but I figure every little bit will help in terms of keeping things cool in the car. So water lines and those kinds of things are getting taken care of. They'll be coming out in between those 2x2 channels. That's where those cooling lines will be installed. And then I'll have plenty of other area for air conditioning, heater hose, cables, wiring, and all that to be fastened in and use this passageway in between the seats for everything else inside the car. So it'll be kind of busy in there, but I think we'll have plenty of room. The other thing I wanted to show you, the next thing I should say, is some work I've started to do in repairing some of the rusted out areas of this car. This is a area where the air vent is. In a 60s style car, there were always vents down by your feet on both the driver's side and the passenger side. And on this Corvair, that vent area had some severe rust. And this portion of that area was rusted out. So you can see I've fabricated a replacement piece. I've got it welded in. I've got it connected into the inner fender well. And I've got some more grinding to do and smoothing out of that area. But the basic pieces are in there to get that rebuilt. Also, the inner fender well, or where that fender well connected to the outside was also in bad shape. So I've taken a piece of metal and I've got that welded in and getting that ready to be finished off so that the rust hole is gone and it's replaced with fresh steel. So more to be done down here after I've got the frame rails put in, but I got a good start on doing some of the repair work and stitching in some non-rusted steel. The next area I wanted to show you is in the rear of the car. I've taken out most of the old existing inner fender well because it was going to be too small for the wheel and tire combo that I have. As you remember, I did move the hinges for the engine cover inboard to make sure I had enough clearance for the tire, and then I've trimmed out the inner fender well components that were there. So this is now ready for an initial drop down onto the car, or lowering the body onto the car with the tires, and then I'll have to see what kind of other adjustments I'm going to need to make, and then how I'll get that all rebuilt with a new inner fender well. So more sheet metal work to be done in here, and some body work to be done around the wheel well. I'm expecting to widen and raise that wheel well opening to accommodate the tires, but just minorly, only maybe an inch to an inch and a half of width and an inch height. So I've got the pieces to do that, but I'll be having to kind of look at that after I've got the chassis connected to the body and the tires actually up inside this fender well area. And then the last thing I'm going to show you that I've been working on is I removed the dash and gauge panel from the dash area. I did a lot of measuring and researching, and I've located some odometer gauges that are 3 5/8 in diameter. There's a gauge that I ordered that is a speedometer, one that's a tachometer, and then there's a quad gauge. All of them are 3 5/8 of an inch, and I believe they're going to be able to fit into these openings quite well. The one that'll probably be the challenge is the center opening. It's slightly smaller than the two outside ones, so I may have to do a little additional work to make that fit. But I'm hoping to have gauges that are close to the same purpose as the existing gauges were in this, but provide more functionalities, such as oil pressure gauge rather than an idiot light, a temperature gauge rather than a light. So hopefully we'll be able to get that done. I think there'll be some little TLC required to get that, but I like the gauges. They'll match well with the car and the style. So more to come in that when I get working on that. Okay, that's all the update for this month. Like I said, a lot going on. Made a lot of progress this month. We'll be doing quite a bit of work in the month of March. I think I'll have a pretty good time allotment available to me to work on it the second half of the month. So we'll be tackling some of the other parts of these projects. It won't be long, and I should be getting my transaxle from Mendiola. And when that arrives, we'll get the engine and transmission placed inside that frame, get the mounts welded in, and get that ready to be loaded into the chassis, and then allow me to put that into the car shell and see how that fits. So stay tuned, and if you have any comments, don't hesitate to drop me a note. I read them all, and I've gotten a lot of good ideas and great suggestions from folks who have been passing along. So don't hesitate to do that. Thanks, and we'll talk to you later.